Hey guys, how's it going? It's Leon here. Hello from Taiwan. Today I want to talk about the purpose of suffering, whether there is a purpose to suffering. There's an area in our lives in which we experience a relative deficit in compared to other people, and we kind of wonder, why is it that way? Why do I have to spend my whole entire life trying to make up for this deficit in order to feel normal compared to other people? And it could create, it could be such an energy drain. And I felt this myself, and I continue to feel this as well. I think a lot of people experience this in their lives, some area of their lives in which they feel like there is a deficit. And I feel like from my work with people, working with clients, but also observing people, I could see how people naturally are able to turn this area of deficit or suffering into a source of meaning. And they do this through a concept called learning through polarity. And what this means is that wherever we feel like there is a deficit in our lives, that becomes a source of fixation, because we become so focused about how to overcome this area which we feel a great deal of vulnerability in, that through this process of reflection and trying to address this area of vulnerability, we find a sense of meaning. A really clear example of this is when you look at comedians, for example. A lot of comedians, they struggle with depression in their lives. And in order to cope with that depression, they've learned how to, there's a really cute fish over there that went blop. Anyway, in order to cope with their depression, they try to bring a sense of levity into their own lives. They have to, in order to make up for this feeling of sadness in their lives. They always try to look at life from a really funny angle. And that becomes a source of meaning for their lives, because they not only learn to do this for themselves, which already provides a sense of meaning, but they also start to do this for others. And for me, I'm not a comedian, but when I am feeling down, what I do is I pull out a comedian on my phone and I feel better. So this is what learning through polarity is about. So for me personally, I experienced really severe social anxiety in my own life, to the point it was really crippling of just being able to live day by day. I felt a sense of isolation, a sense of loneliness. Even when I'm around one person, and I really wanted to socialize too. Even when I'm around one person, my heart would beat really, really fast, and I'll put my hands behind my back because I need to dig my nails into my skin in order to just relieve the pain of the anxiety about being around other people. Another thing is, for me, is also being able to speak clearly, because something that I had been experiencing throughout my life is that I tended to be ineloquent. A lot of it had to do with my social anxiety, and people could see that I stumbled over my speech and it's not very clear what I'm saying. So another thing that became this focus is, how do I communicate ideas clearly to other people? So human connection and communicating ideas clearly becomes a source of focus, of fixation in my life due to this deficit I experienced. And I'm sure you could relate somehow. Like, there's this area where you feel the sense of deficit, and that becomes a point of focus. So something that had really inspired me, and I think you could be able to relate to this in some sort of way, given whatever area that you're feeling suffering in. Something that helped me with my area of suffering is I met other people who also experienced the same thing. I joined a social anxiety group, and that group ended up really inspiring me, because they all suffered from social anxiety, but they got together and they're so focused on the theme of human connection, because they have social anxiety, they experience isolation. They're so focused on this theme of human connection that they created this group where the focus is on hanging out, the focus on connecting with others. They have workshops on that. They have these hangouts, which are just like really fun. And they really are so focused on bringing people together that, compared to other meetup groups, there's more of a sense of connection in that group. So whatever area that we feel like the sense of deficit in, that becomes such a focus that it creates this like sense of meaning in life. So these people with social anxiety, they create this group that is all about human connection, more so than other groups. This theme becomes a source of meaning in their lives. So I'm going to leave you with this thought, which I found to be really profound. It's a phrase that I've heard of, and I shared with others, and they found it to be very meaningful and helpful as well. Is that whatever area in our lives that we need to be healed is the area in which we become the healer. So for myself, I joined the social anxiety group because I had social anxiety that was very severe. But later on, over the years, I became more confident in myself socially, and I started to provide workshops for people who have social anxiety for that same group that had served me. And so I'm really am proud to continue to serve this group. So I provide workshops because I'm so focused on this theme of human connection. Like, how do I connect with others? How do I speak clearly? That becomes such a focus that it became a theme in my life, that I became someone who leads these workshops to communicate these ideas about human connection with others. But something I want to say is that you don't want to force this idea of having to have greater meaning from the sense of wherever you feel the sense of deficit in your life. Just really take life day by day. For me, personally, with social anxiety, I really felt like day by day, I was just trying to make up for this deficit just to become normal. I can't see the whole entire picture about it, how I could serve others. But even through that journey, through these ups and downs, and just feeling like I'm going back to square zero and I'm not making any sort of progress, to really being able to see the progress I've made over time, I've been able to find personal meaning in that journey. So if you're interested in learning more about my story about how I was able to take an area of great suffering in my own life and turn to something that's meaningful, and in this case, it's my social anxiety journey, I'll post an article about it in the description box for YouTube or in a comment section in IG. Thank you so much for watching.